there, fearfully and wonderfully made human. Welcome back to the Holistic Counselor Podcast, where I hope faith, science, and whole person healing meet. I'm your host, Diana S. Rice, licensed mental health counselor and certified integrative mental health professional. And this space exists to bridge biology, psychology, and theology so you can live with more clarity, peace, and purpose. If you've been listening for a while, you've probably noticed a theme. We keep circling back to the powerful connection between food, mood, and mental health. In episode 22, Dr. Bernstein helped us understand how the gut and brain are constantly talking to each other. In episode 36, Kate Zapata expanded on that by showing how gut health impacts mental wellness from the inside out. Episode 63, episode 72, episode 81. These are all interconnected, and every one of those conversations leads right here to today's episode with Naihomy Jerez, because it's all connected. What we eat, how we feel, and how we show up in the world. I first met Naihomy during the Rise Latinas Summit back in October of 2025. If you missed it, go check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. And then we created an episode, and it's called the Special Edition Rise Latina Summit Mind and Body Renovation. That's where I first heard her speak. And I knew immediately this was a conversation we needed to continue. Because here's the truth. So many of us in the Latin community grew up hearing, ay, por favor, come. Food was love. Food was comfort. But the food we eat today isn't the same food our abuelitas grew up with. The rice, the beans, the oils, even the soil, it's all changed. And not only are our bodies showing it, but so are our moods, our hormones, and our emotional resilience. That's why I'm so excited for today's guest. Naihomy Jerez is a Bronx-raised Dominicana, a certified integrative nutrition health coach, and the host of Let's Be Healthy Latinas, Holistic Wellness with Sazón y Cultura. She helps women of color prevent and reverse disease through holistic health habits without restriction, shame, or losing cultural flavor. Her story is powerful. As a mom of two, she looked in the mirror one day and didn't recognize herself. But instead of chasing diets, she learned how to nourish her body with love, creating healthier versions of her favorite Dominican dishes. And in the process, she reversed prediabetes, lost 50 pounds, and reclaimed her energy and confidence. But this episode isn't about weight. It's about liberation, about understanding why so many of us are facing chronic conditions our abuelitas never had, about reclaiming cultural foods as medicine instead of the enemy, and about realizing that true healing doesn't have to be complicated or disconnected from who we are. And before we start, if this podcast has encouraged or inspired you, please take a second to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more people find these free, informed conversations about healing. And that's what this space is all about. So grab your cafecito, your matcha, or your chlorophyll water, whatever season of healing you're in, and let's welcome Naihomy Jerez to the show. Naihomy, gracias.
Thank you, Diana, for having me. That was such a powerful introduction. Thank you.
Okay, I'm honest. I'm pretty raw, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is what I do now. So I go into ChatGPT and I press the record thing and I'm like, okay, this is my feelings. This is what I want to express. This is how I want to express it. Here's the bio. Here's this. I want people to understand. And boom, it comes out. And I'm like so
Yeah.
grateful.
I agree. It is grateful to use in that way for sure. Like just
Right.
to organize our thoughts in a comprehensive way. It takes so much work out of it, but with our true emotions, feelings, exactly like you said, words. So
Yeah.
thank you, Diana and ChatGPT.
Right? I know some people are like, wait, what? Well, listen, I never claimed to be a writer at all. I mean, maybe a poet, yeah, but that's easy to rhyme or share my emotions and feelings and stuff. But anyway, let's get back to your story because, I really want the audience to understand, like, from growing up in the Bronx as a Dominicana to becoming a certified integrative nutritional health coach. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, to be honest, is something I didn't even know existed. I found out about this career or how to help and support people in this way throughout my own journey in, my mid 30s almost. Uh, and I grew up pretty much like everybody else in the Bronx. My mom worked in the house. I did have home cooked meals because she was at home, so I was lucky that way. But I went to high school in the South Bronx. The Bronx now is starting to expand with different cuisines and different kinds of restaurants. But when I grew up, it was just like Kennedy Fried Chicken and the Chinos and, the pizzerias and things like that. So I I didn't there was this dichotomy about food, right? It was like the food I had at home and super Dominican food all the time. And that was one part of my life. And then it was the other part, which was the outside food. And I would hear from my mom all the time, like, oh, that food is not good for you. That food can make you sick. And I would feel it sometimes, but I didn't know why, and she didn't really have the tools to explain why either. She just knew. And I think that knowing she passed down to me, and I just was curious. And I didn't pay much mind to it. I was similar to everybody else, where it was like, I want to lose weight. I don't eat rice. I don't eat bread. No galletitas, like you cut and you know what, you need to eat ensalada and you have to your vegetables, but there was such a negative connotation to it. It was like boring, not good, like torture almost.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a fan of that. And like you mentioned, after I had my two boys, I did not recognize myself physically. I felt really uncomfortable in my body. I couldn't wear things I wanted to wear anymore. And in true cultural fashion, what was given to me was a faja. And they were like,
Okay, let's explain to the Americanos or anybody
yes,
else around the world, because actually people from around the world are listening. So, like, a faja,
yes,
listen, I'm just gonna share. Like, I saw that in my family, but I had the app. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for me because yo estaba flaquita, flaquita, and people would make fun of me. Porque dicen, porque tú no comes? Where's your
yeah,
rice and bean booty? People told me that all the time growing up as a teenager. You can imagine how the boys were back in the
yeah.
70s and 80s, right, in the 1900s. Uh,
My kids say that all the time. They're like, were you born in the 1900s?
yeah. But you know what I mean? So it is a
Yeah,
culture like, okay, Akita, this is just what we do. Because
yeah,
listen, I know the women in our culture, they have these beautiful bodies. And sometimes what happens, the westernized culture kind of shames that.
yeah. Either way, exactly like you're saying, either you're too skinny or you're too big. There's no happy medium. Everybody has something to say about something that's happening with you physically, right? Nobody ever asks you how you're actually doing in your mind and your
Ooh.
spirits. You know what I mean? Everything is like, what happened to your hair and what happened to your body? And what about those chichos? Or why did you lose your butt? Or, every single thing is picking apart most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
girl, you're so spot on. And we know why. Like, I know once you educated yourself, and I've been educated too, and I hate to say it's just, you know, it, I know it's our culture too, porque tú sabes, we have machismo in our culture, and it just
Mm-hmm.
like just the way it is. It just, I come, without saying too much, from a lineage that, like, someone in my family was the side chick, not my mom. But like, it's just the
Yeah.
the culture. And so
Mm-hmm.
with our looks, that to me, I was called flaca y gorda. I was so
Yeah.
confused. I was so confused growing up. I love my culture. I do. I miss being around everybody because I'm here all by myself most of the time. But it is like flaquita, gordita, and I'm like, well, which one is it?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's so confusing. And these messages come to us at such an early age.
Hmm.
And there's no grace for what's happening. Like, I just had a baby, and they're like, why are you so big? I'm like, I just had a baby. I'm like 9 months pregnant. They're like, you look so big. I'm like, I'm 9 months pregnant. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just consistent. And there's a type of like strength that you have to develop, and like knowing and confidence to understand where those comments are coming from and what you want to do with them.
Yes.
And there's been my own transition with that with me along the way of really being curious as to what people are telling me and what they're saying. And do I think that's true for myself? I always love to empower my clients. I'm like, you get to define yourself how you want to. And we need to understand where those kinds of comments are coming from. And are we going to give them truth, or is it just them not knowing any better, it being part of the culture? One time I asked my mom, I was like, why does skin color always come up? Like, why does hair
Wow.
texture always come up? And it was just plain curiosity of like, why are these things always spoken about, body shape? And she was so honest. And she was like, you know what? I don't actually know. She's like, I just grew up hearing these things, and you just kind of follow suit, right? Like you do as other people do. And those were the topics of conversation. And then, I was having a conversation with her, and I was like, that's kind of like not nice. That's kind of rude. Like, we can find other things to talk about. I understand that's what you heard, but this is kind of how it makes people feel. And is it really that important? And it kind of like had her become more aware. And she rarely does these things anymore, and it's just this education piece, because I think a lot of times it's like, oh, you're being so mean. That's so rude. Like, how can you say that? And it
Right.
is really challenging those conversations when people are saying things that are so inappropriate, whether it goes as deep as, why don't you have kids? Or why don't you have more kids? Or why do you have so many kids? Like, again, there's
Right.
there's
It's
never a
like that
winning.
did you watch Barbie?
Yes,
Do you know
I
the
did.
part where America Ferrera says that speech?
Yes, yes,
We're not
yes.
this, we're not that. I mean, listen, the movie was whatever, and people, the thing is, you have controversy everywhere, right? That's it.
Right.
We live in this culture where it's just like so much. I don't know. I have to be like, no, like stop being so involved in all that. But that part
Mhm.
hit home for me as a woman, not a woman of color,
Yeah.
just a woman, because it is so
Mm-hmm.
true what you just said. It's like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you there? So how do you shut that off? Because I know how I shut off and help my clients to try to, because this is why I start my episodes. Hello there, fearfully and wonderfully made human. Because to
Yeah.
me, it is we're all raised by a village,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And this village has taught us who we are. And to me, though, I'm a woman of faith, so I want to help people train their brain to understand who they are in whose they are and who they are in Christ. Because to me, when you really know that, then you know what's truth and what are the lies being told to you by your village.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I want to know how, like, that shift for you happened, because that's hard. Because remember, many of us in our culture either are, we might be second, third, fourth generation, but a lot of us, I know, like for me, I was second,
Mm-hmm.
right? You were born in Dominican Republic?
I was, but I came to New York when I was like 1.5. So
Okay.
New
Yeah.
Yorker.
Yeah, so you're you're American, but
Yeah.
but the point being is that we come to get the American dream here,
Mm-hmm.
that they fought so hard to come because, this is the best country in the whole wide world. I hope. I don't know. I don't watch the news anymore, so I try to stay away, but you know what I mean? So we come with the intergenerational stuff you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
education, I want to go back to the educational piece, because many people live with their hypervigilance or with their nervous system on edge constantly. So that's why they pop off. Number one, because they haven't been taught things on how to calm their nervous system, but it's also what they're putting in their system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you help your clients out with that?
Yeah, I think there were a few questions here. It's like, the how do we kind of shut that down or shift that mentality from our family? And just to circle back real quick, faja is a shape
Oh yeah.
It's like a shape, just in case people are like, what is that? It's like it's a body shaper or a girdle, like that kind of
It's
brings everything
yes,
together.
girdle. That's what I remember,
Yes,
girdle,
a
where you
girdle. And
sausage yourself in. This is what I would say. Like I'm like,
yes,
oh my gosh, you got to sausage
yes,
yourself into these things because
yes.
it's back in the day where you'd see some of these old shows where they're sitting there roping the people and tying
Right,
them
right,
up
right,
and
right.
shoving them into
Like a
this, and then
corset.
yes, and then
Yeah.
pushing up their boobs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, nothing wrong with shape
No, no, no,
wear
no.
or
It makes you
girdles
feel
or things like
good.
that.
Yeah.
It can definitely tuck things in. But what I knew for myself,
Hmm.
and I'll tie it back to like shifting mentality, and this is the part of it. Like, we need to start to divide up what do we actually want. I don't think we know how to listen to our own voice because we've been told about ourselves our entire lives by our family, by society, by men, and we don't actually know who we are, what we're thinking, what we actually want, how we actually feel, what we actually think about how we look. Everything is outside influence. So that's kind of the start of it. And I knew back in the day that I didn't want that to be my solution,
Right.
just to be in a girdle all the time. My kids were born in June. I started to think like, how do you wear a faja with a bathing suit? How do you wear a
Right.
faja with shorts? Like, how do you? And I really wanted to take care of myself. I've never been a fan of crash diets or torturing myself or anything like that. And I would also notice that a lot of the white women, I had a corporate job, right? When they came back from maternity leave, they look completely different than what our Latinas look like, more or less, right? This is also
Hmm.
generalization, of course. But I was like, what are they doing that we're not doing? What are the resources they have that we don't have? And I started to just, again, very neutral, just be curious to see what they were talking about, how they were eating, how they were living their lives, and things like that. And I said, maybe I can implement some of those things. And they were either going to the gym, coming from the gym during the workday, they had their like leggings on, or they were eating in a certain way. And I started to get curious about that. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to just start by working out. And that meant once a week because that's all I had time for with two babies.
Right.
And I started to change the way I ate. But it wasn't until I started working with a nutritionist that I actually started to learn about food and the power of food. And that was what really changed my life. And I was like, I know about food. What is she gonna tell me? Like, come más ensalada, have more salad, and cut out the bread, and don't have fried food, and that's it. It should be it. But it was so much more than that. It
Really?
changed my life. I worked with her for 2 full years. She must have thought I was the most annoying person in the world because I had all the questions. I
Yeah,
wanted
good.
all the answers. And I was so invested in this education piece that I didn't know. And that's how I ended up losing 50 pounds that was totally unintentional, by the way. And when I first lost it, I was like, oh, that's great. Everybody lose weight. And then everybody gains all the way back. And then I'm back where I started. And then I have to figure it out again. But after 2 years, that's when I realized where everything was exactly the same. I was raising two little boys. I have my family. I was commuting long hours. I didn't have a nanny, like all these extra resources. And the difference between me and anybody else was just the education piece. That
Wow.
the education piece and learning how to apply it in my lifestyle so that I'm able to stay consistent in it.
Okay.
Those were the two things. That is it. I am a girl from the Bronx, immigrant family, limited resources to some extent, right?
Mhm.
I was not that much different. That was the only difference. And then that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I need to pass this information down to my community. I
I
need
love
to,
that.
like, if they just knew these basic things about food, if they just knew how to implement it into their busy life and not
Hmm.
have it be extra work, then they can get these results too. And they can stop torturing themselves, stop being so mean to themselves. At the time, I didn't even know I had reversed prediabetes in myself. It wasn't even a goal.
People don't even know
The
that
doctor didn't
they
even
could
tell
prevent it.
me.
No,
Yes.
they don't. And I've seen that too, where it's like, wait, what? I have this. But I'm thinking
Yes.
a lot of the things, a lot of the labels that are dropped in our lap, we can actually, God made our body so beautiful
Yes.
and the resources for it. So to me,
Absolutely.
what I'm hearing is, okay, education,
Hmm.
right? And the ability to, and it isn't willpower because so many people try
Mm-mm.
to do the willpower thing, you know, and accountability because you had that nutritionist.
Yes, I had support in the gym and with the
Okay.
nutritionist. So absolutely creating that village of where you want to go and where
A
you want to
healthier
be.
village. You get to choose. You get to pick, and it doesn't have to be expensive because this is a
Hmm.
thing I hear a lot too. Because I work more with the mental health aspects of things as a clinician, but I when I ask them, you know, Naomi, I bet you ask them too. When someone starts working with you, right? How, what's like the first thing you do with them? Do you have like a questionnaire that they have to fill out,
Hmm.
right? I do too, right? And so to me, they're like, you're the first therapist that ever asked me how I'm pooping.
Yeah, that's so important.
And they're
That is on my questionnaire.
right, good. Well, it's important because I'm like, yeah, well, if you're not feeling right, that's where anger could come out more. It's not only everyone having trauma. It's, to me, it's like these are symptoms, right? The itchy skin or the anxiety or the depression. These are symptoms. Now, the question is, do you want to get to the root cause or you just want to manage symptoms?
Yeah, I don't know if people knew the difference. I didn't,
No, I mean, I
you
didn't
know?
either. Like, this is
Yeah.
why I'm holistic and certified
Hmm.
integrative because of my own personal experience too. So back to yours, Naomi. Like, okay, education. You said something else. It was education and one more thing. I'm sorry. What
No,
was
it's
it?
okay. It was sustainability. Like, how can we apply it to
Yes.
their life where they can keep up and it's not such an extra task, you know?
Well, and that's the thing, because there's people that are all or nothing thinking, like
Hmm.
those cognitive distortions that I try to teach my clients. Like, okay,
Hmm.
where are you getting the evidence of that? Why don't we do an atomic habit or a micro habit, right? Why don't we just start with putting a little lemon in your water or 2 hours without looking at social media or whatever, like whatever comes up in the. So tell me about how it is with you, like when you're working with them and then you have that full like questionnaire, right? So you gather information. What do you see a lot of?
I see a lot of not eating enough. A lot of women not eating enough, really giving themselves harsh definitions
Mhm.
like, I'm not a breakfast person, or like defining themselves in some way. I don't like to exercise. I don't do this or don't do that.
Mm,
But essentially, they are doing these things in one way or another, or like, I I don't know what my symptoms are, how this feels, but in fact, they are describing those things and they do know what those things are. It's just maybe the piecing it together piece. There's so much misinformation or abundance of information that they don't know how to apply when it comes to food. A lot of misconceptions that we need to walk through because they're so strong,
yeah.
especially from messaging in wellness culture. There's so much messaging about doing one thing or the other, or this one thing is going to fix it, or this one thing is going to solve it. And again, maybe those things can help you, but
Hmm.
they don't know how to use it. They don't know why they're using it. They're,
Can you give me an example of something you're talking about?
yes, let me give you some examples. So recently I was supporting my client with dinner and she goes, I am so confused about dinner. I don't know when to eat it. I don't know how to eat it. My partner and I have different schedules and I'll not eat even if I'm super hungry if it's past 8 o'clock because they, as in the wellness, that you shouldn't eat past 8 o'clock.
Hmm.
Or they
But then how do
say,
you explain Spain? and France when they're eating at 11. You know what I mean? So this is, do you
Yeah.
challenge those thoughts like that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you
Not
have.
necessarily like with other
Rude, right?
cultures,
Yeah, yeah.
but with what their body's communicating to them.
Right,
Like, are you actually hungry? What was your activity level today? What did you eat throughout the day? Because a lot of times women tend not to eat the whole day and
hmm
then they are so hungry at night because they don't
hmm
have any energy anymore
right,
and they're snacking and they can't stop eating and then they feel bloated and then they feel guilty and all this. So it's more of seeing what's actually happening. Exactly like you said, God built our bodies in a very perfect way, like in a way that it's trying its best to serve us and it's trying its best to keep us alive and to work with us. And we don't know really how to communicate with it. So a lot of times, a lot of what it's asking of us is because it's trying to meet its needs that
right,
we're not giving to it.
right,
So, and then, but we don't know that. So then we blame ourselves. And it's like, I don't have willpower. I don't have self control. I don't know why I'm always craving things. I'm never going to get to where I want to be because I always drop the ball 3 months in or whatever months in, or every
right,
time something happens in the family, I let everything go. So it's back to that all or nothing as well, where again, it's just a lot of misinformation, educating ourselves and getting to know ourselves and what works for our routine, our
right.
body's needs, things like that.
Right. To be healthy, because it starts from the inside out. It's not,
Yes.
because I think being raised in a culture where we're programmed, television programming, right? It's just constantly programming and because it's the wellness, the makeup, all that stuff, it's a multi-billion dollar business. Big
Yeah.
pharma is a multi-billion dollar sometimes they create the problem and then they create the solution so they could keep making money. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, you got to think about our ancestors. Like we're healing parts that our ancestors gave us, but we're also learning and being educated by the wisdom of back in the day when it was just sunshine,
Mm-hmm.
healthy foods from the earth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Community, fireside side chats, the red light, just
Mm-hmm.
walking. People
Yeah.
think that you have to pay thousands of dollars to be healthy and feel good, right? Because to me, our health is the new wealth,
Yeah. I agree.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about like, in the US and Australia, big pharma commercials dominate.
Mm-hmm.
They dominate while other countries don't even allow them in. Those
Mm-hmm.
commercial people don't know that. When I first learned that, I was like, "What? How?" But then I realized, hello, it's all about el dinero, el
That
peso,
is true.
and I don't want to badmouth anybody that's taking a medication because sometimes that's survival. Sometimes something has happened and you're grieving and you need that anti-anxiety, or you're diabetic and you have to have your insulin. I get that.
Mhm.
But we also have power in
Yeah.
in food,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Food and mood. And so, like, how do we help women move past the quick fix mentality and just return to natural, culturally rooted remedies, Naomi? How do we do that? Especially, listen, I know I grew up in New York, in Queens until I was 12. So I came with that Northeast, like people know, right? Are you from New York? Even though I don't have an accent anymore. I'm like,
Mhm.
why do you say it? Because you have that energy. We're known to have an energy, us New Yorkers. And we're talking about the five boroughs in a way. And each
Yeah.
borough has its own energy. So it's kind of like South Florida with the different counties.
Mhm.
Broward County has a vibe, Palm Beach has a vibe, and Miami-Dade has a vibe, right? But the southeast part of Florida is kind of how the five boroughs in New York City, because then you have upstate New York. So,
Yes.
and then we have our culture. So, like, what do we do to help these women with these quick fix mentality or the I can't do it or like I got no time or money for this? What do you do
Yeah.
with that, Naomi?
Those are a lot of different obstacles that can be very real, they can be very real. Which one was the first one? I know it was money, time, and the first one escaped me
Yeah,
that you said.
I swear we got good brains, we promise.
I know. Well,
It's
yes.
early. It's early. Yeah.
Well, let's start with the food and time. Oh, quick
Yeah.
fixes. I'm like,
Yes,
wait, I
quick
want to
fix.
remember because it was so good.
Yeah.
The quick fix portion of it, I think that the first step to that is deciding you don't want that anymore. And a lot of times my clients come to me because they've tried all the quick fixes. They've tried all that one thing. And it's really nice to have a quick fix for something. And it does work for a temporary amount of time, but it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting to always try to find
Hmm.
something else to help you achieve the same exact result that you're looking for. And that becomes expensive
Yeah.
because you actually need to probably buy a supplement or buy a program that is very short lived, like a challenge or something like that, where it's 30 days, 60 days. Um, and I think that that's what happened to me. Like, I decided that I was going to take my time and however long it took for me to get the results because I didn't want to restrict myself. I didn't want to torture myself because when you do the quick fixes too, you're giving up a lot. And
Mm.
because it feels so temporary, people are okay with it. It's like, oh, it's just for 30 days, it's just for 6 weeks.
Yeah. And
And
then I
they
could go
have,
back to my old self. But the
yes,
thing is, we're meant to be evolving.
exactly. Well, that, or it's like if you logically think about it, if you go back to doing what you were doing before, it doesn't make sense that you keep the results that you worked for.
Mm.
It doesn't work that way with whatever it is. You need to keep working towards whatever that is, and that's one of the main things that the mindset shifts that I help my clients on. It's you need to come to terms with the fact that this is a lifestyle and it's forever, you
Lifestyle
know?
change. That's what
Yeah,
helped me when I came, even though I was skinny fat. I know people, and look it up. It's a thing where
it is a thing.
you know,
Yeah,
I have my little cortisol belly. I had a lot of autoimmune. I still wrestle with that, but I actually had to know, listen, the blood work. And it's not the typical blood work that conventional doctors, like all of a sudden, boom, boom, here it is, your CBC panel. I had to go into the hormones. I had to go into the emotions of why these things are happening too. Right.
absolutely.
And then the lifestyle change. This is where Dr. Bernstein, he was the first one to teach me about probiotics and the gut. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, you have this Epstein-Barr virus. I mean, these viruses and stuff that comes along with a lot of stress, CPTSD. Maybe I lived in an apartment that had mold. I mean, it's all
Mhm,
interconnected.
mhm.
But Naomi, right? You teach the person to do the one thing until they master it, where their neurons in their brain connect and they realize, I don't ever want to feel that way again.
Yes, and that's where we do a lot of evidence collection
Okay.
because eventually they'll start doing whatever we're working on, whether it's the morning routine or something like that. And this is what helps solidify me and my lifestyle. Because I would go back to what I was doing before because the brain, I always say, you are the manager of your brain, your body, and like how you feel.
Hmm.
Because everybody has an opinion, everybody's really loud, and you need to ground yourself to understand what direction you want to move in. So I would be doing the things that, were helping me get the results. And all of a sudden, I would end up in a restaurant I used to like, or the drinks, or these kinds of foods, or whatever. And I was like, or let's bring this in family peer pressure or
Oh,
friends peer
yeah.
pressure. This
Okay,
is a
pasa
great one.
contigo. Oh, you think you're
Yes.
better than us.
Why are you not
I heard
eating
that too.
rice? Why are you not having a drink? Oh, you think you're so
Mhm.
good. Oh, you still going to the gym? I just got that one this past weekend. I saw a family member. I haven't seen her in so long. And we had a conversation about the gym about 7 years ago. And when I told her, she's like, "You're still going?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes, I never stopped.
All
You
right.
don't stop, you know?"
No, no, it
So,
becomes part of who you are in order to
yes,
function well in our society. Like you have
yes,
it. This is what I tell my clients. You know, you're going to pay either way. You're either going to pay for illness because you're going to have to pay for all those doctor visits or you're going to pay for wellness,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you're going to pay either way. And
Mm-hmm.
so back to what you were saying about the lifestyle, that word is important. I'm like, please don't call it a diet. Let's not
It's
call it
not a
about
diet.
diet.
It's not a diet. And I call people out all the time because they'll be like, everybody loves to be so nosy and look at your plate and what you're doing.
No se ponchichera.
And yeah, and then you hear somebody in the back and they're like, "Oh, why you're just eating that, or you're not having any rice with your yuca and your plátanos," like, you know what I mean? And I don't even get a chance to answer because someone else in the room would be like, "Oh, ya está en la dieta." And I'm
Oh,
like, "I am not on a diet." They're like, "No." And I'm like,
¿y qué eso?
"No." I'm
Mira, mira,
like,
es como un pajarito.
I just eat this way, and my plate can be full, but it makes them so uncomfortable that there's more salad than rice, or however I want to build my plate at that time.
Right, right.
People always have comments. So you end up doing something to please somebody else,
Ooh, say
to
that again.
make
Oh,
someone
Naomi,
else
that's it.
comfortable. Oh my gosh, mi tia is so uncomfortable. I'm not having the rice. Mi tío is always used to me
I'm
having
offending
wine.
abuela. I'm offending me,
Yes.
Mama Filo. Well, sorry, Mama Filo's in heaven, but I'm offending
Yeah.
somebody. And that's our
Yeah.
collective culture, okay, listen, that's what we really want to talk about because it's really easy for the independent, non-collective culture of America, right? It's very
Yep.
independent. I'm not putting it down. It's a thing. All cultures have good and bad, okay? But
Yeah.
we have a collective culture where we are taught, mira, tú sabes, you go kiss whoever in the cheek and you eat whatever they put in the plate, no matter
Mm-hmm.
how full you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta tell me how to deal with that, Naomi. What do you do?
Yeah. You start bypassing all of, and this is why we are so disconnected from ourselves, because everything is about pleasing the other person. Oh, you can't be disrespectful. You have to finish. You can't waste food. Like all these different things that we're told.
Mhm.
But what I started noticing for myself, and I help my clients start to understand, is I want you to see how you actually feel in those situations. How are you feeling? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Are you feeling full? How do you not only feel that day in that moment, but 3 to 5 days out? Because
Mhm.
that's what I started to notice, where I would eat things that either I remembered I used to like, or it was part of an event or something, and I would feel so unwell. I would have a stomach ache. I would be bloated. It would take me, and I would tell this to my nutritionist. I'm like, why am I day 3 still feeling like crap? And
Mm.
she was like, yeah, it takes that long for your body to re-regulate, or, refine its way and digest everything out and clean everything up. So I started to decide, I'm like, I don't want to feel like shit. Oop, I don't know if I can.
It's all good, girl. It's all good.
I'm like, I don't feel like crap,
Yeah.
because everybody else is moving on with their life, and then I'm over here having to be so uncomfortable and
Yeah.
dealing with these things along the
Right.
way. I love, once you understand how good it is to feel in your body, or like how good your body feels, you don't
Mhm.
have the bloating, you don't have the migraines, you're not exhausted,
You're
you're not
pooping one or
dragging.
two times a day,
Yes,
like we're
like
supposed to.
you feel a lot more calm
Mhm.
and regulated and all
Yeah.
that. It's like, no, I want to feel that way. So that's when I started, and I was like, screw them. I don't care what they want for me. I need to do what I want to do for myself, because eating and how you feel in your body, no one else is going to know that. But
Right.
people want to put their perception of what they want, or their beliefs, or whatever it is, or their style onto you. And
Yeah.
that's not fair, because they don't know what medical conditions you have. They don't know what you're working towards.
So
Yeah.
what do you teach them how to respond? Because that's the thing too, because a lot of my clients will come in and I don't just deal with this, it's just family stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about the eating. It's just like, well, I can't, I'm like, well, we have to first become a curious observer of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're
Yeah.
doing. You're being a curious observer, and then you start noticing things. And sometimes grief will come up when you're noticing things.
100%.
And
Yes.
so then we figure out something to say, like we practice in session of like, okay, you're the one with your own body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Who knows you the best? And now, what's the one thing you can say, or what's the one shift? Because a lot is fear, false evidence appearing
Yeah.
real. Fear of letting
Oh,
someone
wow.
down. Yeah, right. Oh no, you're gonna love this one. False evidence appearing real. And what we're teaching is face everything and rise.
Oh my gosh, these are great. I need to put these on a little thing and quote you.
Oh, let's see. Where did I get these from? I don't know. It might have been chat. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Oh no, it's old. But anyway, but for the clients that you work with, you're right. It's like we're trying to build their confidence and their
Mm-hmm.
understanding of them with the education, with the science, because you said, like there has to be evidence based. Do you teach them about like, okay, nowadays, like you got to understand the rice and beans. Let's go there for a second because
Yeah.
you're teaching them to still eat culturally.
Yeah,
How do
100%.
you do that when I know like seed oils and I know like the rice and the chemicals and what happened in 1995 with Monsanto, and that's why the bread, like back in the day you can eat bread a whole and you wouldn't gain that much weight or you wouldn't hurt because people are hurting, their bodies are physically hurting. I know if I eat gluten,
Mm-hmm.
my body and my joints hurt. I'm in my 50s. Like I have to be careful hormonally and stuff and menopause coming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I figured out a way to eat bread or something different. Like, you know what I mean? How do you do this to keep the culture? Because I still make sopita. My family knows my abuelita sopita con guineo, and you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes batata and all that stuff that I learned. But I do it in healthy ways. I literally pulled out all my new thing like this. Look.
Uh-huh. Oh, nice. Oh, they have organic now, bandita. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, how do you like what is it that you teach or like because you talk about recipes and stuff, like how do we keep our culture of our good taste food? I swear that's why my husband married me. He thought I was going to cook like my mom and then 31 years later he goes, "What happened?" So tell me,
Uh,
like how do you keep it?
so I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about our food being bad, right?
Mm,
And I think that it's part of society and what it's taught. Nutrition and, the Registered Dietitian Society and a lot of that. A lot of what the concepts are is these kinds of food bad and these kinds of food good, or there's just this whole language around it. But
mhm,
when we really start to break it down, it's just in the macros, like what's a fat, what's a protein, what's a carbohydrate. We have all of those components in our actual foods. We have the components of healthy foods, of different kinds of vegetables. It might not look like kale and quinoa and all these things, but it looks like, curtido and what's another one, like ensalada hervida to a certain extent. Like
okay, no,
there's
no, no, let's do this. Porque yo
what
quiero saber qué es eso. Ensalada
oh
hervida, ¿qué es eso? What is that?
well, in Dominican Republic they have this salad where they call it boiled salad, and it's certain kinds of vegetables. Sometimes it is, carbier vegetables like potatoes and carrots, but they do have other ones like tayota, and they put pickled onions on top, or it's just a green salad, or a curtido is basically almost like a fermented cabbage, citrusy mixture that they use. I think in Ecuador or in Venezuela, I think Venezuela. I don't know. I'm probably butchering this, so I am sorry. All I know is that I have clients from different cultural backgrounds, whether it's Mexico, African American, Indian, and Colombian. And in each of their cultures, they have what they actually need. Now, where I think it starts to disintegrate a little bit
Mm.
is in portions and in quality of ingredients. I think
Oh,
those two things matter a
yes.
lot. So, or in food preparation. Like, do we really need that much oil? Do we really need to fry the salami in oil when it's full of oil and you just put it in the pot and it'll fry itself?
And
Things
where's the
like that.
salami coming from?
Yeah, I don't eat salami, but it's just an example
No,
of
no,
like,
no, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
okay, fine, you want to eat salami, but where is it coming from? Is it the cheap, cheap kind that's what I'm saying. You're going to
yes,
pay for wellness or illness. So is it something that's
exactly.
quality? I get you.
Mm-hmm.
I get you. Like to me, when I do my rice, instead of doing my mom always used Wesson oil, and that's canola
Mm-hmm.
oil. And I'm like,
Yeah,
ooh. So I use ghee. Look, I did bring my stuff out. I
you
use
did.
ghee to make rice.
Yeah,
And it tastes so good.
I also use ghee to make rice, or I'll use avocado oil. I
Oh,
don't
see?
use, yeah, avocado oil, coconut oil, ghee, actual real butter are all really good. And to know that, or an extra virgin olive oil, these different kinds of oils have also different heat points where they can also be rancid. So even though extra virgin olive oil is extremely good for our health, you don't want to be cooking high heat in that oil
Right.
because it will turn it rancid. Ghee is an oil, a type of oil that can handle really high temperatures, and so is avocado oil. So if I want to make tostones because it's my
Hmm.
favorite, I
Mm.
won't fry them in canola oil or vegetable oil. I'll fry them in a little bit of avocado oil. But if I want to dress a salad or
Hmm.
maybe fry a little bit of eggs or something like that, then extra virgin olive oil might be it because you don't need such high temperatures for
Yeah.
that, or you can eat it raw. So it's knowing these differences, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and also the portion of the plate where we're used to seeing a mountain of rice and there's no kind of and then maybe some beans because a lot of people just take el caldito or just a little, they're not actually eating the beans,
Hmm.
and a little bit of meat and maybe zero to no kind of vegetable in terms of salad or something else. So even just adjusting the portion can adjust how your body receives it, because what's also happening in our culture is not just the food, it's the lifestyle of being so sedentary. When
That's
people at home ate these foods and they ate a pile of rice, they were
hmm.
also physically working,
Yeah, outside in the
physically
hot sun.
working in the sun, getting
Mhm.
sunshine in. They're cleaning. They didn't have dishwashers. They were washing the clothes by hand. If we're talking about, female centered activities, which back in the day they were, right? Or
Hmm.
the men were out in the field, the women were picking up and dropping off children, they were carrying buckets of water. So it's very different. Activity level and food go kind of hand in hand because
Yes.
food provides you with energy, and if
Hmm.
you're not using up all the energy, it has to go somewhere and is going to get stored. And
Yeah.
this is a lot of what I teach my clients too, of how the body actually works and how much energy does your body actually need. So if you're eating a pile of rice now and you're going to go sit down at your computer for 5 hours and then your couch for 5 hours and then your bed, you
Yeah.
don't need it.
Right.
You're not using it. You're not putting
Yeah.
it to work. So those things matter.
Yeah. No, for sure. Totally. Okay, so let's talk about some other food swaps. Like
Okay.
that we talked about. We named a little bit like with the ghee and stuff. And the picture, I forget that people are listening on Spotify. I was showing her what I use as my all-purpose seasoning because I grew up with Sazón
Mm-hmm.
or Badia, but this one has no chemicals. So see, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It costs maybe $1 more, but to me, it's just all natural, organic garlics, organic or salt, organic sugar, organic lime juice. Like understanding your ingredients. That's something I had to teach a lot of my clients because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, MSG could cause headaches. Your headaches is causing you not to sleep. You're not sleeping. So guess what? Now you're depressed. It's
And
all
you're more insulin insensitive, like your blood sugar goes up. This is why you're craving a lot during the day. Your body needs
yes,
energy because it didn't recover while
right.
sleeping. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so it's like understanding how you sleep, how you move during the day, because some people don't go to the gym or have that time. So guess what? I'm like, do you have 10 minutes? Like you
You
teach
don't
them.
need to. You don't need to.
Right. I mean, it's movement. Dance for
Yes.
30 minutes in your freaking bedroom or something. I don't know. Do something.
Consistent movement throughout the day is
Mhm.
better than a chunk of movement at one point in the day and being sedentary for the rest of the day. Absolutely.
Wow.
It burns more. So let's say you do work in an office or you are sitting for long periods of time, as is the culture right now.
Hmm.
I always tell my clients, you fill up your water bottle, you're eventually going to have to pee, or you set timers if you need it or some sort. I said every time you go to the bathroom you do 10 squats. Every time you go to the bathroom, if you have stairs in the house, you go to the upstairs bathroom or you go to downstairs bathroom, or you do wall push-ups, or if you have like certain weights at home, it doesn't need to be weights, it could be your laundry detergent, it could be a sack of rice, it could be cans of beans. Like, use the environment around you. I
Yes.
always like to encourage, and I'm the first one doing squats in a bathroom stall, or taking the long way at a parking lot, park
Yeah,
in the back,
10 jumping jacks. 10
jumping
jumping
jacks
jacks,
if you're
something
able
in
to jump.
between. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you're, yeah, something to move your heart, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like we have these organs and trillions of cells in our system, and all they want to do is love you. And
It is true.
we gotta love them back, Naomi. So listen, is there any like any books or anything that, because some people are like, well, I don't know if I could afford working with Diana. Not that I do nutrition, I don't do that. I just do my thing. But like for you, Naomi, like any books, because I know there's a couple of books that helped me and I wanted to name them because to me, then my show notes will have it. Calm Your Mind with Food by Naidu, MD, Dr. Uma. Do you
Mm,
know? Have you heard of that book yet?
I
This
think I've heard
one?
of Dr. Uma for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I know Dr. Uma. Yes, but I haven't read that
Yes.
book. Yeah.
Yeah. And so to me, like I love giving information because it is about education.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing to learn where you are, who you are, why you are, your legacy, what is it that you want, healing these parts of you,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that you have power and you have choice. Because so many people feel so stuck, Naomi, right?
Yeah, I
Here's
don't
the
blame
other
them.
book. Have you heard of Dr. Lee?
No.
Oh man, he's got some great stuff too. Like
Okay.
these doctors, and the reason I say that because there's not only Naomi and I, right? She's got her podcast, I have my podcast. But think about it. If you listen to this and then you listen to Naomi and then you go and listen to Dr. Naidu or Dr. Lee and have an
Mm-hmm.
understanding of the of different sciences and the why, that encourages you. This is what encourages I know how I learn and stay focused. I learn new things
Absolutely.
constantly.
I'm
And
shifting around because I have all my books in this corner.
oh, cool. All right. So teach us, like, what is it that you
Um,
like and what helped you on your journey?
yeah. So quick insert when it comes to seasonings. I love that Bandida has organic, also small business, women owned. Um, Mayra has a business called Healthy Rican, and she
Oh,
has sazon, she has adobo, she has dry sofrito, which is amazing. And her products are so clean, women owned, small business. She's
I
from
love
Buffalo,
that.
New York.
Hmm.
And I also have a discount code if you guys are interested for her stuff, but she's an option. And also, there's another brand called Luisa,
Okay.
who's they are in Whole Foods and other supermarkets, I believe. Also, super clean. They also have adobo. I like that they have other seasonings like garlic powder, turmeric, oregano, those kinds of things. So I order them both in tandem for the stuff that, like, the seasonings I need to cook. And that is a first step.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then,
Yes.
minding your portions and everything else. So
And read the
that's,
ingredients. I'm always
yes,
telling people, please read the ingredients. If you see something and it's more than three or four, put it down and find something else.
I would say, know what they mean, because
Yes.
sometimes there is a
Yes.
longer list, but it's maybe vitamins, or, it just depends.
Yeah.
You want to be able to understand it at some capacity, but also sometimes there are ingredients in there are in, like, in a scientific name or something like that. So that's something I do teach my clients a lot, which is
Cool.
reading the ingredients, what they
Okay.
actually mean, reading a food label,
I
what
love
is
that,
that telling
Naomi.
you? Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And what is it doing to you? Because I
Mm-hmm.
also ask clients, because I do work with nutritionists, I work with psychiatrists,
Oh,
because
cool.
we all need, like, or with an acupuncture. Just think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I rather have a village that has my best interest. I know I'm going to have to pay them, but at the same time, they're teaching me on how, first of all, accountability and different parts of me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like for me, if I can only do so much, and it's usually what my lane is, cognitive behavioral therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Internal family systems to get down to the emotional. But for all the ingredient stuff, I'm like, no, go to Naomi.
Yeah. I
Or,
think you bring up a great point because we're not used to, as a community and culturally, used to investing in ourselves in that way.
mm,
It seemed like a waste or frivolous or sometimes, like
selfish.
not worth it.
Yeah.
But and again, this is generally speaking, we're so okay with going on a shopping spree at Marshalls or TJ Maxx, and it's like, oh, this is just $5 and this is just $10 and is a bunch of physical stuff that's probably, you can talk best of this, fulfilling some sort of need or dopamine hit, but actually is not going to help you feel better in the long term.
Right.
So considering that, like, what about if we saved up the $5, the $10, the $15 and learn how to invest in ourselves in a different way? Because it goes much deeper than just like a new shampoo or mascara or something like that.
Right, right. I mean, the quick fixes, that's the thing. We're trying
Mm-hmm.
to get people to understand they're worth a longer period of time of healing and understanding. And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to say yes to yourself, because we are, as Latina women, really trained to care about everybody else, care about that man, care about the children. And it's not about not caring for them. But if you really, really want to care for them, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yes,
Right. So
absolutely.
tell me the books. I'm all like hyped up.
So I have the books here.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite ways to get information is through podcasts. So I would
Mm-hmm.
search, I just have more time for listening than to sitting and reading. I
Mm-hmm.
do have some books here, and then you can go follow them. There's a ton of podcast episodes with
Oh, cool.
um these doctors. So one of my favorite, I do a lot of focus on women specific nutrition and exercise. Ladies, a lot of information out here is for men, but I do
Mm-hmm.
a lot on women specific through the menstrual cycle, perimenopause, menopause, because we're different. So one of
Yes.
my favorites is Dr. Stacy Sims. She has two books. She's a PhD. She has one book called Roar: How to Match Your Food and Fitness to Your Female Physiology for Optimum Performance, Great Health, and a Strong, Lean Body for Life. So a lot of great information here for active women. The next one is Stacy Sims with Celine Yeager, or I feel like both of them are the authors of the next book, of the other book too, Roar. It's called Next Level: Your Guide to Kicking Ass, Feeling Great, and Crushing Your Goals Through Menopause and Beyond. So
Oh
it's like
my, I
a
need to read that.
continuation of this one.
Yeah.
Lots of great information. Another kind of longevity doctor is Peter Atia, Outlive:
Yes, his
The
stuff is
Science and Art of
amazing.
Longevity.
Yes.
Lots of good information there. And again, bringing it back to women, The New Menopause by
Who's that?
Marie Claire Haver.
I love that.
There's a lot of doctors, female doctors now, who are empowering women. And there's other doctors that I'm not remembering off the top of my head that
Mhm.
I really follow their science and their teachings, but these are
Yeah,
just a few of the ones I have.
I
Yeah.
love that. And what podcast would you recommend that you love that really, besides
Um,
yours? Name yours again.
Yes, I would encourage you to listen to Let's Be Healthy Latinas. That's my podcast. I have a lot of episodes on there on education, on
Oh, cool.
hormones, on food, and I also do a lot of episodes on our culture specifically and the challenges that we face as first generation Latinas or Latinas in general in our, like, the culture, exactly what we're talking about. Like, what are people saying, how to handle certain situations, how to handle, conversations, because there's this massive education that needs to happen. And I'm going to be posting an episode where I do I do it in Spanish and English. Is the first time I'm talking about it in both languages. But I had
Wow.
this conversation with a loved one among a lot of misconceptions that she was sharing with me. And I was explaining it to her in Spanish. And I'm like, damn, if I explain it to her in Spanish, I can just show up for our community and do it for them as well. Because she had so many misconceptions about losing weight, about diabetes, about how to handle all these things. So yeah, it's going to be in both languages. It's not out yet, but it'll be out soon. And in
Wow.
terms of these other podcasts,
Hmm.
um I would say something I like to do is just search for, let's say, Stacey Sims, and
Hmm.
then all the
Watch.
episodes that she's
Right.
been on come up.
Hmm.
But one of someone who I enjoy, or two people who I enjoy how they interview, is Diary of a CEO with
Yes.
Steven,
Yeah. He's good.
and The School of Greatness with Lewis Howes.
Do you know
Um,
the Model Health show?
no.
Oh my goodness. His story is really good because he talks about how he was diagnosed with these things. It's with Sean Stevenson, his name is.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and what I love is that he grew up in the inner city and he came out of that and now he teaches people. So it's called the Model Health Show. That's something that I like back in 2020. I was just eating that podcast up and
Oh,
it's really good.
nice.
So yeah, all these things I'm going to put in the show notes. So,
Awesome.
with especially so if somebody wanted to work with you, how can they find you? Do you work with people from all over the world?
Yeah, I work with people from everywhere. A lot of my clients, I'm in New York. A lot of my clients have been California, Arizona, Texas, like,
Hmm.
and a good chunk here on the East Coast. But you can find me on Instagram at Naihomy Jerez, or on my website, naihomyjerez.com. You can go ahead and DM me or send me an email, share a note on my podcast, and we can start the conversation there. Usually people book a consultation call, or we can just chat, to see where you're looking for, what your goals are. But that's how to find me and how to work with me. I usually work with my clients one on one, to really get into the root of what you're looking for and really create that lifestyle shift that
Hmm.
it is what I help people with, through food, movements, and yeah, the lifestyle shifts. And you can listen to my podcast as
I,
well. Let's Be
I,
Healthy Latinas.
yeah, I love that. All right, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we say goodbye, Naomi?
Anything I would like to say? I think in the theme of our episode is navigate out of the quick fix. Like, really see why you're doing what you're doing, what your goals are, how that's going to help you. And whatever you're choosing, I would encourage you to think, like, is this going to be sustainable, or is this going to be add more stress to your life? It shouldn't be stressful, then that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So I always say in my little spiel, like, while living your best life, can you do what you're doing to help yourself while living your best life? You don't want
Mm,
it to feel like torture.
no,
So
exactly.
yeah.
It shouldn't feel, I mean, honestly, like in the very beginning, no, what is it called? No pain, no gain, because you're shifting and
Right.
changing and you're challenging and you're growing. Think of yourself as a beautiful butterfly, right? It's like you're like in this caterpillar state and then it's like, oh, struggling to come out. And then you become this beautiful butterfly. And it's not about perfection because that's
Right.
something, right? And it's not about, honestly, it's about the beauty from within, not on the out, because we have all these lies and stories being told on what a perfect Latina looks like or perfect woman at that. And it's no, 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 no. That's why to, hire Naomi and she'll challenge you in a gentle, loving New York Dominican way. I love it. You can hire me too, but I'm more of the, I'll get down to the nitty gritty of the grief and shame, like the
That's
shame,
important.
the guilt and shame of why you're thinking that way, right? So honestly, you can hire both of us.
Yeah, it's always, I think my clients get the best results when they are working in tandem
Yeah,
with other health professionals.
I
They
agree.
usually do have therapists,
Hmm.
um, with their doctors as well.
Yes.
So it really is a care team. Again, it's not just one person.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you can't afford any person, just start with sitting alone with creator, with God, and just journal and just start with one thing, one resource that Naomi said or that I said. One. I even have a PDF on my, and I'll leave it in the show notes too, like of just how to start. Because
Mhm.
the reason Naomi and I are doing these things, I know it, is because we care about our people and our community, and we want a healthy community, and to grow and to learn and to teach. And because you have kids, I have grandkids, I don't want, it's what we're leaving to them, right? We want you to
Mhm.
be good and healthy. So, on that note, listener, please remember to trust in the Lord, guard your heart, and renew your mind. Bye. And now for the disclaimer to make sure you understand that you are responsible for you. The content provided on the Holistic Counselor podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified mental health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical or mental condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast are my personal opinions and do not represent the views of any professional organizations with which I am affiliated. Call your doctor, 911, or 988 immediately if you have a medical emergency. The Holistic Counselor podcast does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the podcast. Reliance on any information provided by the Holistic Counselor podcast, guests appearing on the podcast at the invitation of the Holistic Counselor podcast, or other listeners to the podcast is solely at your own risk. Confidentiality notice. If you engage with the Holistic Counselor podcast by commenting or posting and are a client, please be aware that you may be revealing information that could compromise your confidentiality. Please remember that disclosing your identity or personal details can be linked to your clinical material. As a therapist, I am bound by confidentiality and will not respond to any disclosures of this type on this podcast. I am committed to upholding the ethics and confidentiality of the therapeutic relationship, which extends to all forms of communication in accordance with the laws and professional guidelines that govern mental health professionals. I want you to know that your privacy is of utmost importance, and you are responsible for protecting it when interacting on this platform or any other public forum. Thank you.